New York City had this mayor's race.
Right.
The winner here is an AOC-style Democratic Socialist.
Right.
You've had you're in the primary. You've had your battles with various folks. You talk about what's winnability and what's a good campaign message. A lot of folks outside of New York are watching the race. There's a lot of different views of it. Inside New York, a big part of the message was populism, affordability, make this city livable for everybody again. A lot of people found that to be an uplifting message, although he may have other demerits, including figuring out how he speaks about foreign policy and other issues, which also matter to a lot of people in New York. So I'm not painting it with one brush. But your thoughts on the results, are they relevant to the Democrats and the rest of the country or not?
I think they are, because he never got out of talking about affordability and how they met this and everything. Yeah, he had some, I would say, esoteric positions. People uncomfortable. They look beyond that. And I think the message is that's what we got to talk about. And we talk about the big, beautiful bill. We got to talk about how this is going to increase cost on America. Cost of living is going to go up for most average Americans, and there's real power in that. Governments fell all around the world on this issue of cost of living. We probably lost the presidency because it was a big contributing factor to us losing the presidency.
So let me make sure I'm hearing you right. You think Zoran was right to hammer affordability?
I absolutely do. And yes, he absolutely understood what it was about, and Andrew just never addressed that. And it was, the big thing this guy does, he sees people. People say, I don't know if I agree with that guy, but he sees me. He knows what it's like to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, to go to the transit station, to get on the transit, how much a quarter increase in the transit fare is going to hurt me. He knows what it's like to have to get off the train, to walk 6 hours to work 9 hours a day, to come back and your kids and he knows that. And let me tell you, a lot of politics is just telling people that they exist, that I see you and your problem. Maybe the solution is impractical, but at least he sees us.
Politics can be about fighting, but it can also be about solutions. And that's where we turn right now to California, which has long been a leader on all kinds of policy reform. The state's huge economy and large population have made it something of a bellwether. And the state was early to legalize same-sex marriage. When California did that, there was a lot of talk about whether they'd gone too far or too fast. But now, it seems pretty straightforward. It is a national right in the United States. California also made environmental changes that other states copied. But right now, we want to turn to a story where California's liberal leaders are actually rolling back some green reforms, and all for a turn towards something that James Carville was mentioning earlier in the hour: populist affordability and maybe some lessons learned. Now, California has done a lot in the areas of environmental protection. Again, earlier than other states ever even cared about it. But they went far and had some rules that were so strict it would require all kinds of different development to go through environmental impact assessments. Green advocates said that would help protect the environment before things were built or irreversible problems were caused. But many found that the red tape stoked other separate problems and ultimately contributed to the state's housing crisis. Democrats concluded the solution might be worse than the problem, with the housing shortage, homelessness crisis. The Times reporting on this development because while D.C. is consumed by partisan rancor, this is a story where policymakers and some California Democrats said they actually wanted to have an open mind about reform if something wasn't working or if there were trade-offs. So Governor Newsom is now signing basically 2 new plans, bills that roll back some of those green rules, trying to cut red tape or bureaucratic hurdles to make sure there's enough housing fast enough that people can afford it. He and some of these leaders say this will help people, working people, younger people, keep up with what is clearly a problem everywhere: rising costs.
To really transformational bills that will put California on a strong path to get things done.
We have too much demand chasing too little supply.
We told the world we are ready to be open for business, the business of building housing.
Affordable, decent housing is the civil rights struggle of our time here in California. And today we take a transformative step.
That is the step, and that's what they're talking about, but it comes with costs. In this case, putting some of those environmental concerns on the back burner to help people with what, as you saw, some Democrats say is the civil rights issue. And it's certainly on the minds of young people voting in a lot of elections. Democrats prioritizing affordability. And that might mean other issues take a back seat. Now, 70% of California voters say housing has to be the priority. You have urban areas like New York City where that Democratic mayoral candidate, Zohran Mamdani, who I mentioned, you see here, this is a real sign on the real streets, and you see the message on the bottom, a New York you can afford. That was the key argument, beginning, middle, and closing of what was a real upstart victory.